I am so glad you are here today. Take a slow breath, find a comfortable place, and let this story begin. Imagine a young girl, about 20 years old. She is sitting in a cold, dark room inside a castle. The walls are made of thick stone. The door is locked. The only sound is the river flowing outside. The only light comes from a small window high above her. Armed soldiers stand guard outside. She does not know if she will live or die. She does not know if tomorrow she will leave this place alive or lose everything. This girl has no army. She has no money. She has no friends in power. Her own sister, the Queen of England, put her here because she did not trust her. But this girl will survive. And one day, she will become one of the most powerful rulers the world has ever known. Her name was Elizabeth, and her story begins not with a crown, but with a tragedy. But first, you must understand something about this time. In the 1500s, men ruled England. Kings made the laws. Kings led the armies. Kings decided the future. People expected women, even royal women, to be quiet, to marry well, and to produce sons. No one believed a woman could rule a country on her own. Remember this, because it makes everything that follows even more remarkable. The year was 1533. In a great royal palace near London, a baby girl was born. Her father was King Henry VIII, one of the most famous kings in English history. Her mother was Anne Boleyn, the king's second wife. Henry wanted a son. He wanted a boy who could become king after him. When Elizabeth was born, he was deeply disappointed, but that disappointment was only the beginning. When Elizabeth was just 2 years old, the king had her mother arrested. He accused Anne Boleyn of terrible crimes. Many people today believe the accusations were false, but it did not matter. They put Anne on trial. They found her guilty, and they killed her. Her head was cut off with a sword. Elizabeth was 2 years old. She would never remember her mother's face. After Anne's death, the king declared that Elizabeth was illegitimate. Illegitimate means she was no longer recognized as the king's true daughter. He removed her from the line of succession. Succession means the order in which people have the right to become king or queen. In one moment, Elizabeth went from being a princess to being almost nobody. But this little girl, alone and forgotten, had something inside her that nobody could take away. Elizabeth grew up in quiet country houses, far from the royal court. She had good teachers, and she was a brilliant student. She learned Latin, Greek, French, Italian, and even some Spanish. She loved books. She loved music. She loved learning. But she also learned something else, something more important than any language. She learned to be careful. England was a dangerous place in those years. Her father, King Henry, had 6 wives during his lifetime. He killed 2 of them. The country was divided between Catholics and Protestants. These were 2 groups of Christians who disagreed deeply about religion. Leaders killed people for believing the wrong thing. Elizabeth's older sister was Mary. Mary was Catholic. When Mary became queen in 1553, she ruled with a strong and fearful hand. She believed that all Protestants were enemies of God. She ordered nearly 300 people to be burned for their beliefs. The people of England lived in fear. They gave her a dark name. They called her Bloody Mary. And Elizabeth, who was Protestant, had to be very careful. One wrong word, one wrong letter, one wrong friend. Any of these could have been the end of her. Mary did not trust Elizabeth. She believed her younger sister was plotting against her. Plotting means secretly making plans to do something harmful. In 1554, Mary ordered her soldiers to take Elizabeth to the Tower of London. The Tower was a royal prison. Many people who entered the Tower never came out alive. The Tower of London was a terrifying place. Its walls were thick and cold. The river flowed dark and silent beside it. Her own mother died inside those walls. Elizabeth knew this. She knew she was walking into the same place where her mother died. Can you imagine that? A young woman, only 20 years old, walking through the gates of a prison, not knowing if she would ever leave. Elizabeth sat down on the cold stone steps. According to the old story, she said, "Here sits the most unhappy prisoner in the Tower." She stayed in the Tower for 2 months. Then they moved her to a house in the countryside. They kept her under watch for nearly a year. She was not free, but she was alive, and she waited. But life, as many people in history have learned, can change in a single day. In November 1558, Queen Mary died. She had no children, and by the laws of England, the crown passed to the next person in line. Elizabeth. She was 25 years old. According to the old story, she was standing under an oak tree. The place was called Hatfield House, north of London. A group of men rode up on horses. They knelt before her. They told her that Mary was dead. She was now the Queen of England. Elizabeth looked up at the sky and spoke in Latin. She said, "This is the Lord's doing, and it is wonderful in our eyes." The girl they called illegitimate, the girl they locked in the Tower, the girl who lost her mother at 2 years old. She was now the ruler of England. On January the 15th, 1559, Elizabeth walked through the streets of London to be crowned queen. Thousands of people lined the streets. They cheered and threw flowers. Music played from every corner. Elizabeth smiled and waved. She wanted them to know that she was their queen, not a distant ruler behind stone walls, but a queen who belonged to her people. But being queen was not easy. England was a divided country. Catholics and Protestants did not trust each other. The country had almost no money. The army was weak. And many powerful men in Europe did not believe a woman could rule. Elizabeth had to prove them wrong. And she was clever. She did not rush. She did not make enemies when she did not need to. She listened to her advisors, especially a man named William Cecil, who served her for 40 years. She chose her words carefully. She smiled when she was angry. She waited when others wanted to act. But the decision that surprised everyone the most was not about war or religion. It was about love. From the very first days of her rule, everyone asked the same question. When will the queen marry? In those times, people expected a queen to marry. A king was the real ruler. A queen was simply the mother of future kings. Every advisor, every member of parliament, every foreign prince expected Elizabeth to choose a husband. But Elizabeth refused. She met princes from France, from Spain, from Austria. She danced with them. She wrote letters to them. She allowed them to hope, but she never said yes. People begged her. They warned her. They told her that England needed an heir. An heir is the person who will rule after you. Without an heir, the country could fall into chaos. But Elizabeth had seen what happened to queens who married. Her own mother married a king and lost her life. Her sister Mary married the King of Spain, and he controlled her every decision. Elizabeth did not want to be controlled by anyone. She told her parliament, "I have already joined myself in marriage to a husband, and that husband is the Kingdom of England." End quote. Think about that for a moment. She chose her country over love, over family, over everything. The people began to call her the Virgin Queen, and she wore that name with pride. She kept foreign kings guessing. As long as they believed they might marry the Queen of England, they would not attack her. Her refusal to marry was not weakness. It was a clever plan. But the greatest test of her life was still coming, and it would come from across the sea. In 1588, the most powerful country in Europe was Spain. King Philip II of Spain was angry with Elizabeth. She was Protestant. She was helping the Dutch fight against Spain, and English ships were attacking Spanish treasure ships. Philip decided to invade England. He built the largest fleet of warships the world had ever seen. 130 ships, 30,000 men. He called it the Armada. Armada is a Spanish word that means a large group of warships. The Armada sailed from Spain in the summer of 1588. When the English saw it coming, fear spread across the country. But Elizabeth was not afraid. Or if she was, she did not show it. She put on armor and rode out on a white horse. She went to meet her soldiers at Tilbury, near the River Thames. She stood before her army and gave one of the most famous speeches in English history. She said, "I know I have the body of a weak and feeble woman, but I have the heart and stomach of a king, and a king of England too." The soldiers cheered. They were ready to fight. On the night of July the 28th, the English sent 8 burning ships into the middle of the Spanish fleet. The fire lit up the dark water. The Spanish captains panicked. They cut the ropes that held their ships in place and sailed away from the flames. The great line of Spanish ships broke apart. The next morning, the English attacked. The battle lasted for hours. The English ships were smaller, but faster. They could turn quickly and hit their targets. Then a great storm came and destroyed many of the remaining Spanish ships. Elizabeth and her small navy had won. A small island nation defeated the most powerful empire on earth. Can you imagine how the people of England felt that day? The queen they had doubted, the woman they had told to marry, she saved them all. After the defeat of the Armada, England entered a time of great energy and confidence. Some people call this period the Golden Age of England. During these years, English ships sailed to every corner of the world. Sir Francis Drake became the first Englishman to sail all the way around the world. Sir Walter Raleigh tried to start the first English town in North America. England was no longer a small island. It was becoming a world power. And something else happened during this time. Something that would last far longer than any war or agreement. The theater was born. A young man from a small town in the middle of England came to London. His name was William Shakespeare. He began writing plays. Romeo and Juliet, Hamlet, A Midsummer Night's Dream. Elizabeth loved the theater. She attended Shakespeare's plays and supported the arts. The English language itself was growing and changing during Elizabeth's time as queen. It was becoming more beautiful and more powerful. Many of the words you are learning today were first written during the time of this one queen. Elizabeth ruled England for 45 years. Her time as queen was the longest in English history at that point. But the final years were not easy. Her closest friends began to die. Her favorite advisor, Lord Burghley, passed away. Her beloved companion, the Earl of Leicester, died years before. She grew older, and the loneliness she had chosen became heavier. She had no children. She had no husband. The great halls of her palace grew quiet. Sometimes she would sit alone and listen to music, the same music she had loved as a young woman. The crown she carried for so long now felt heavier than ever. She never named an heir until the very end. On her deathbed in March 1603, she finally agreed that James, the King of Scotland, would follow her. He became King James I of England. Elizabeth died on March the 24th, 1603. She was 69 years old. Her family, the Tudors, had ruled England for more than 100 years, and with Elizabeth, that long chapter came to an end. But the England she left behind was stronger, prouder, and more creative than anyone had imagined. She chose her country over everything, and her country never forgot her. And so, my friends, the story of Elizabeth comes quietly to its close. A girl who lost her mother before she could remember. A girl who was told she was nobody. A girl who was locked in a prison and told she would never be queen. And yet, she became one of the greatest rulers in all of history. She made a choice. A difficult, lonely, painful choice. She chose to give everything she had to something bigger than herself. Now, my friend, I want to say something to you. You are making a choice too. Every time you press play on a story like this, you are choosing something. You are choosing to grow. You are choosing to learn. You are choosing to give your time and your effort to something that is not easy, but something that matters. Learning English is not easy. There are days when the words feel heavy, days when you feel like giving up, days when you wonder if it is worth it. Maybe sometimes you feel like the girl in the tower, surrounded by walls of words you do not yet understand, locked inside a challenge that seems too big. But look at Elizabeth. She was told she was not enough. She was told she could not rule. She was told a woman could not lead a country, and she proved every one of them wrong. You are proving something too. Every word you understand, every story you follow from beginning to end, every sentence that becomes a little clearer, that is proof. Proof that you are stronger than you think. Elizabeth chose her country over everything. You are choosing your future, and that is something to be proud of. Keep listening, keep learning, keep going.